Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. I'm your host, Robert Smith, along with my co host, Adam Stellman. Today, we'll be talking about the week one matchup for the Seahawks against the LA Rams. This is our preview show. Adam, let's talk Seahawks.
Yes, it's here. The 2023 season is finally here. Kicked off Thursday night with the upset by the Detroit Lions of the Super Bowl champ Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know about you, but I loved watching that game. Not the least of which seeing Chris Jones at the game with his two agents on either side of him. That was a great shot. Very well done, NFL camera crew, for putting that on there. That was the shot.
And for gaining a little bit of leverage, being like, hey, you guys lost. I could have been on the field. I was in town, but you want to be stingy with the checkbook.
Yeah, he probably would have been pretty helpful in slowing down David Montgomery.
I don't know. Those Lions look good. I mean, we knew
they
were
good last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm like we got to see what they could do firsthand. Obviously, watching them play the Seahawks last year, and then of course they were big thank you to them for taking down Green Bay in Green Bay in Lambeau to close out the season, which was the key thing. Allowing us to go on to the playoffs, because if they don't do that, we don't get to see what we look like in the playoffs last year. So, which wasn't great, to be honest, but the first half was great.
Yeah, for sure. I think honestly, I've been gaining more and more respect for the Lions as an organization over the years, and so I'm just stoked that they're doing well. Hopefully, they fall to the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game, but hopefully they have a good season, just not when it relates to Seahawks seeding or playoffs of any kind.
No, I'd like them to just go ahead and win the NFC North, and that way they don't have anything to do with our seeding. So, which I think they have a legit shot of doing this year. I honestly do.
Yeah, I think they do too. I think the Vikings are going to be a tough team. I know a guest we've had on the show, Viking Mitch Mazzio, would probably agree with me on that. I think there's a good chance the Vikings might edge the Lions for the top spot in the NFC North, but it's going to be one of those two teams. It's not even going to be close because the other two teams are not going to push.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you don't expect the Bears to be that much better than they were last year, although I'd like to see some improvement from them because I do like Justin Fields. And then we don't know what what's going on with the Packers. They've got a new man behind center. It'll be the first year of the Jordan Love era in Green Bay. So yeah, no, the NFC North is definitely wide open, but I do think you're right, and it's probably going to be a 2-horse race between the Vikings and the Lions.
Oh, for sure. I think, like I said, I still stand by what I said in that division, but I am excited to see what Love can do and what that team looks like in the post Aaron Rodgers era. But we are a Seattle Seahawks podcast, so
That's right.
Let's get on task. What are your thoughts going into this 2023 season as it regards to Seahawks football?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what else I can say that I wouldn't have said in our recap shows or our end of the season show. But coming off of the playoff run last year, what I think was just a stellar draft this year. I know that those of you that watched the draft live, I'm sure I wasn't always excited about some of the picks, but I do think the Seahawks had another great draft. I think they got guys that will be impactful right away, and some guys that I think will build up a role on this team eventually. I don't think they drafted a single guy that doesn't have a shot at being a contributor on this team at some point. So man, I'm excited, man. I think I probably hyped it up a little bit too much at the end of the season when I said this really feels like 2012, but I'd be lying if I said I still don't feel that way. I mean, I think we've had two really good drafts in a row. We have a great core. We've obviously got some really good and key veterans on this team. I don't think there's any reason why we won't get to see the Seahawks make another playoff run, and hopefully a much deeper one than we saw them make last year. So I'm stoked. I think this is going to be a good season to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we have a young, talented team. If I'm being realistic, we got a shot at the playoffs. I don't know if we have a shot to go deep into the playoffs as much as
just the ticket to the dance, man.
To happen. And as much as the bets I may have laid down on my DraftKings account would like to happen, but still, I have a lot of hope for this team. The future is bright. This season could be a breakout season. We just have to see how these new acquisitions and all these pieces that we've added, be it the rookies, the veterans coming back like Bobby Wagner, or new additions like Draymond Jones, how are they going to shape this team and how we progress through this season is something I'm really excited to see. And we have our chance here week 1. We're going to get to see exactly how this team is going to step up and look this upcoming season.
I think with one key exception, which we'll get to in just a sec, but I agree. I think that there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to scheme and what this 2023 Seahawks team is actually going to look like, because we did have a lot of big replacements this offseason. Part of we've got at least in name 2 new starters on that offensive line. We have all new starters on that defensive front. So yeah, it's there's a lot of questions, but I think that's what's building this excitement for me, is because it's all unknown. It's the anticipation. So yeah.
Well, you mentioned it, so we'll go right into our league news, and that's week 1 has already kicked off. Right, we had a game on Thursday. That was the Chiefs championship banner game, right? And it was spoiled by the visiting Detroit Lions.
Hey, look, it's the Detroit spoilers as far as I'm concerned at this point. They spoiled the playoffs for the Green Bay last year, spoiled the Chiefs homecoming this year. I love watching the Lions play. That might be the only other team that I really go out of my way to tune in to watch this season, to be honest.
Yeah, they're on my list for sure. I love that through NFL Plus, I can go watch. We're not sponsored, by the way, just to throw that out there. But I like through NFL Plus subscription, I can go watch condensed replays of the games. So I have a couple little kids running around the house. And so for me to be able to sit down and watch a 3-hour full broadcast of a game outside of the Seahawks isn't very viable. So I like that I can sit down and spend 30, 40 minutes and watch a game. I'm trying to watch every NFL game this year. We'll see how long that lasts. But throughout the week after those games, I'm going to try and watch every single game just to keep my knowledge base high and try to be able to bring a little context to things that we talk about here on the podcast.
Yeah, plus that's just kind of Robbie's thing. His brain's not going 100 miles an hour and analyzing everybody. He goes nuts. For me, yeah, go ahead.
Well, for me, if I don't know that, Miami needs a 4th receiver because the undrafted rookie has a little injury, then for me, I'm not up on my news. So I've got to get out there. I've got to watch the games. I've got to see what's going on. And then that helps us when we do draft analysis and prospect scouting.
A role I'm happy to leave to you. I'll catch stuff as I see it pertinent. I don't need too many distractions. I can't multitask like you. I don't have the experience of handling 2 small children plus a life. So,
well, like we said, it's already kicked off. Another bit of news is that most of our NFL holdouts have been resolved, but there are two big names still holding out for contracts in the NFL that have not reported to their teams. We made reference to one earlier, and that was Chris Jones there in Kansas City, watching his team lose while he was in the building. And then another one, I know this is a player that Adam has tweeted out several times in favor of
pay the man. Pay the man.
Paying him his due, and that's running back Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis is, to me, the new worst organization in football, which is a real sad thing, because that's a hell of a falling from grace for a storied organization that's been around since the inception of this league. And the merger league. Sorry, they were the merger league. Anyway, Jim Irsay, I have no problem calling this man out by name. He is now the class clown since poor little Dan Schneider was shipped off to boarding school and is no longer part of the NFL. Big round of applause from everybody. But look, Jim Irsay,
Thank you, NFL owners, for taking out the trash.
Yeah, for once. We could talk about the trash that's still piling up in that house. But but just a quick on Jim Irsay. That man goes out of his way to look like a clown. I think I put out in a tweet, and I'm going to say it again here. I have a Cowboys fan in my family. I love talking trash about Jerry Jones with him because I think Jerry Jones is one of, if not the worst GM in the NFL, which means he's one of the worst owners in the NFL for hiring himself to be the GM. I think Jim Irsay is really gunning for that top spot. He's certainly the worst owner in the AFC right now. So I just pay Jonathan Taylor whatever he's asking. Maybe not whatever he's asking. Look, I know running backs have been devalued, and this session's going a little bit long. But look, he deserves to get some money. I don't know if he's going to get more than $10 million a year, but he deserves that at least, and some guarantees in there for injury, and a long term, not just 1 year. I know that no one else got that done. Saquon Barkley, I think. Did he get a long term one? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't know the year count on his contract.
Anyway, but he re-signed a contract, obviously Josh Jacobs did with the Raiders. But Jim Irsay, I don't know what you're doing there, man. I don't think Anthony Richardson's ready for week 1. I don't know why you would put him out there when you have Gardner Minshew there, a guy who has already proven he knows how to run an offense. He knows this offense specifically. That's why you guys brought him in, and now you're benching him. I don't get it.
They might believe in him. They might think that he needs that like Peyton Manning rookie season, which was 3-13, and just let him grow. I don't think Richardson is the next coming of Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I was going to say the only people that could possibly make that comparison is Jim Irsay's Indianapolis Colts, because nobody else is thinking that Anthony Richardson is the next Peyton Manning. So, look. I hope I hope you're right. I hope they're right. I hope he has a great season and looks like he absolutely belongs to be out there. But I think it's a mistake. I really do.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of letting guys grow and learn. The NFL is a much faster game than it is in college, and he only had 13 college starts, so it's tough. I mean, there are guys who have 50 college starts who need a little bit to transition to the speed of the players here in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
look, I'm just going to say 2 other names real quick before we move on. The first one, Trey Lance. Look what happened to him, and he wasn't even named the starter. He only came in because of injury. The second guy, Justin Fields, who also had a disastrous rookie season. It was electric, but it was disastrous. A lot of people said, this guy doesn't have it. And he was only thrust into a starting role because the guy in front of him just couldn't hack it. I don't know, man. I think he's going to have a rough first season. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to him. He's in the AFC, so if he can knock off some of those teams, more power to him.
I don't know if they play the Chiefs this year, but if he can win that game, great.
It'd be fantastic. So on to Seahawks news, because once again, we are a Seahawk podcast.
Yes, we are.
Real quick, I'm going to say shout out to the training team and for Jordan Brooks for the work he put in rehabbing his ACL injury. I'm a big believer in give a guy enough time, especially a young guy, especially a guy that you know is going to come in and be a future key piece in your franchise. If it were me, I wouldn't have brought him back before week 8 of this year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody expected him to be out there week 1, but
no,
just
to get that injury fully rehabbed. But apparently his team did a great job. He was out there putting in the work, doing the rehab, taking care of his body. He is back from an ACL injury in 6 months.
Yeah, I believe that's the fastest of players come back time-wise from when the injury happened to being back on the field. Previously, that record, I think, was held by Adrian Peterson, which is another no-slouch physical player. And I'm not saying that Jordan Brooks is the same athlete that Adrian Peterson is, but look, I don't think Pete Carroll or John Schneider or anyone would be throwing him out there if he wasn't ready to go. We have guys on this team that can fill in. We brought 2 guys in that have both been starters. One of them here for a long, long time. The other one, a first round pick by another franchise. So it's not like he needed to play week 1. If we had the depth, he could have rested. I think the only reason that he's playing this week is because he is ready to go.
Oh, I agree. And of course, apparently I forgot a few months. It's probably closer to 7-8 months, but still huge, quick, rapid recovery from that injury.
Absolutely.
Another bit of news, the Seahawks front office went and they restructured Jamal Adams' contract. So that freed up around $6 million in cap space. The Seahawks are sitting at, what was that, 9.2 or 3 as we speak. So who knows if there's a future move in play here for Seattle, or if
perhaps for a player that we already mentioned tonight.
Yeah, there's all those rumors that Chris Jones to Seattle. I'm torn on it. I don't know if I would like to give up the draft capital and player capital it's going to take in order to bring someone like Chris Jones and the massive contract that will come with trading him for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, I'll finish this by answering that part of the question that you didn't ask, but I don't think that John Schneider, Pete Carroll would make a move like that for this season unless it looked like we were one thing away from pushing us over the top. Unless they think this is a Super Bowl ready team, they're not going to swing for a player like that. They haven't done it before. I don't think they're going to do it again unless that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. The only time we've made big trades in the past is for bringing a guy like Percy Harvin, because again, we thought we needed one electric piece on offense to push us over the top. That defense obviously didn't need any help. Just look at what happened in the Super Bowl. And then the other time was Jimmy Graham, which I think was just bring another guy in that they thought, okay, we need another big weapon on offense for Russell. That's the only thing we need. We need our offense to be as good as our defense. And obviously that didn't work out, but they don't make moves like that unless they think they're one player away. So if it happens, it's because we and everybody else were needed to or didn't put enough hype behind this team, in my opinion. Because if that happens, then that means this team is looking to go on a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, and then Jamal Adams would be the next one that I can think of. Those three players that you mentioned. I would say at this point, the Jamal Adams trade was not worth it. He's only played one full season in Seattle. We'll see what happens this year. Hopefully he stays healthy. I hope he has a great year health-wise and kind of puts all of those questions to rest.
And that's actually, so what I mentioned before when we were talking about the opening of the season, what this defense is going to look like. That is the one piece that we are going to be missing. That when I had said that there was a one caveat to how we're going to, or see how this team is going to play on defense. So I guess I'm moving on. I'm moving on with that. But Jamal Adams will not be there day one. That's a spoiler alert. Going into the injury report here.
Yeah, for sure. We made some transactions this week. And as Adam gets the right banner.
I'm doing the banners, guys. Sorry. There you go.
Those transactions, we had a few things. This is sort of the 2 weeks between, or the 10 days between setting the 53-man roster and the practice squad. Sort of those moves immediately. This is following that up until today, actually. So earlier, the team placed wide receiver Derek Young on injured reserve. And then today, they placed Kenny McIntosh on injured reserve. So we don't know the corresponding roster move for McIntosh going on injured reserve. But when they put Derek Young on injured reserve, they promoted inside offensive lineman, because he's listed as a center, but on the depth chart, he's a guard. Ben Brown, who was on the practice squad, they brought him up to the active roster. And then earlier this week, it was yesterday, I believe, they waived linebacker Vi Jones with an injury settlement.
Yeah.
Which kind of hurts my heart a little bit, because I really was excited for Vi Jones. There are a couple reasons they could have done this. I don't know the terms of that injury settlement, but them actually waiving him means he could, obviously, once he's able to pass physical, everything like that, he could sign with any team. So there's a risk of losing the player, but there is a chance he could also sign back with the Seahawks later in the year.
Yeah.
It's a risky move. I don't know the situation. Obviously, the front office has all his medical stuff, but As a player, I really don't want to get away from the organization.
No, well, I mean, and it should be pointed out, like you said, we don't know the corresponding roster move with McIntosh going on IR. There is still one roster spot available in the 53 right now. Now, could that just be a re-signing of Vi Jones? Hey, that'd be great if that was the case. I think everyone's expecting it to be a little bigger corresponding move, bring another guy over. Obviously, we have $9 million in cap now to play with, but I think it's more likely that we re-sign Vi Jones than we trade for Chris Jones.
Fair, but if anything happens with Vi Jones, it won't be until after the terms of his injury settlement happen, and since we don't have those details, we can't really predict that. We do have, as Adam alluded to earlier, we do have news on the injury front, though, and so the injury report and game day status is out, and so we know for a fact that Jamal Adams will be out of this game. I don't think that's a surprise. I think everybody knew he needed a few weeks. He needs to come back, get into football shape. But he definitely will not play in week 1. And then there are 2 players who are on the questionable list, and that's guard Damian Lewis, which could be another reason why they brought Ben Brown up. At the time, Oluwatimi had an injury, but he is no longer on the injury report. But Damian Lewis is. So having that extra interior offensive lineman on the roster gives a little more security in case he wasn't able to go, and maybe somebody else picks something up, rolls an ankle during the game. We have guys that we can get in there. And then corner Devin Witherspoon is also listed as questionable. There are some players or some people, some pundits, some experts out there who say, this might signal that he's not going to play, because we did call up, we didn't say it during transactions, but we do know our practice squad roster call-ups, because you can elevate 2 players every game from the practice squad to the active roster. And for this game, they are elevating linebacker John Radigan and corner Artie Burns. So they say with the veteran Artie Burns being elevated, maybe that says that Witherspoon isn't going to play. I think it's more of a depth. They have some players that they're maybe not as comfortable with. They claimed Caillou Blue Kelly off of waivers at cutdown day, and there's a good chance.
Great.
Yeah, no, I was excited about it for sure. But there's a good chance he's not quite up to speed with the defense. And so if they do end up needing depth help in the secondary, maybe they want to rely on the veteran who's been with the team for a year and some change over the rookie who just got here. That's really why I think Artie Burns got the call up. I know they like him, but he played 1 snap of defense last year. So
yeah, but he's another one of those guys, though, that can come in and play a lot of positions. I mean, he really is a little chess piece in this defense. I mean, we've seen him come in at safety. He can self-split inside and outside corner. So, I think that he just provides a lot of movement in that secondary if he does end up playing.
Yeah. And don't count out special teams. He's contributed on multiple special teams units as well.
I'll be honest, I don't expect Devin Witherspoon to play. I really don't.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would love to see it too. What would be more exciting than having the possibility of our 2 first-round draft picks this last draft out on the field making big plays in the Seahawks home debut? But I don't think he's going to play. I really don't. I don't think that because he's just not ready. I think his injury was a little bit maybe not worse, but it's taking a little bit longer to come. I mean, soft tissue injuries are always like that. They take longer to come back from. They're difficult. So I think maybe they would just rather him be ready 100% to go when we face the Lions on the road next week, rather than go out there if he's not 100% ready to go. So, yeah, that's my thought on that.
I think that's a good rationale. Like I said, I'm a fan of giving players time to get back. I think he'll be on a snap count. I think they'll say, okay, well, we'll maybe get you out there for 10, 15, maybe 20 snaps just to get a feel for the game, but they don't want to overdo it. We'll see. Who knows? He may be on the inactive list. He might not even dress. We'll see what happens. But I would like to see him just because I'd like to know what we have. He didn't play in preseason. So
it'd be exciting to see for sure. Absolutely. It'd be great if he could.
All right. So every day.
Oh,
every game.
Go ahead. One thing before you go to that, I know exactly where you're going. My bad. I should have cut in with this. We do have some injury news on the Rams front. One very important one, and that is that wide receiver Cooper Kupp, the All-Pro receiver, will not be on the field. He has been placed on IR. He will not be available to the Rams at least for the first 4 weeks of the season, which means we will not see him when they come to town tomorrow. Which is a very good thing. Not good thing that he's injured or anything like that, but I look, not that I think that we still wouldn't have had a shot to win this game if he had been out on the field, but the chances that the Seahawks are going to win this game increased exponentially when it was announced Cooper Kupp would not be playing. There are 2 other people that are not going to be, or that are listed as inactive for the game. That is rookie quarterback Stetson Bennett. A guy that me and you loved during the draft, and I hate the fact that he went to the Rams because I think they definitely got a player there. And then the other one is going to be backup tight end Hunter Lawns will not be out there as well. And that's it. So these teams are both pretty healthy coming into week 1, which is really nice to see.
Definitely. Hold on. This got really bright. Let me just think. All right. So.
Oh, good. You almost looked as white as me. I put it back up.
Every game, Adam and I sit down and we think, what are the 5 keys to success for the team to win? And so our first key that we have for this game against the Rams is you got to neutralize their number 1 player, right? How do we handle Aaron Donald? I mean, are they going to just go with double teams? Are they going to run away from him? Are we going to use a lot of short passing?
All good ideas, and all of those
how
should
are we going
happen.
to negate the monster that is Aaron Donald there in the trenches?
To what extent you can possibly negate Aaron Donald's impact in a game? Look, I mean, hey, look, our defensive coordinator's job got a whole lot easier today, but our offensive coordinator's job did not get any easier. And maybe that's why he's moved up into the booth this year. That is something we missed on a little bit of league news. Shane Waldron will be calling this game from the booth, something I know you're super excited about.
Well, that's where he should be.
Exactly. Yes. And I agree. And I hope, and I'm kind of excited about it because I think that's really going to make him see this offense and kind of be able to really implement what I know he wants to do with this team, which I think we saw in spurts last season, but we really haven't seen 100% the Shane Waldron offense, I don't think. I hope he gets a little bit more leeway to call the game like he wants to this year. But look, he's gonna have a bird's eye view of Aaron Donald wrecking this offensive line if that's what happens. I hope it doesn't, but that's kind of what he's known for. Look, we've got a new center. We know the Rams are a blitzing team, and they love to move Aaron Donald all around that defensive line to blitz from different positions. They are going to test this at the interior of our offensive line right away, and I think they're going to be hammering it all game. So yeah, it's going to be a tough thing, but we've got to figure out some way to keep him from blowing this game up.
Yeah, well, you got to think, if you double team Aaron Donald, does that leaves our tackles one-on-one with their athletic edge guys like rookie Byron Jones out of Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that guy's electric, and he's going to be coming off the edge, and those tackles are probably going to be isolated against him. They might get a chip from one of the tight ends, but I mean, when you got a double in the middle, you might be
hashtag use our tight ends.
Yes. That is sort of a theme. That was a theme last year at this podcast.
One this year
was utilize the tight ends properly. And I'm going to say we don't have it in our 5 keys to success, but it's sort of a bonus one because it's always there. The success of the Seahawks in the 2022 season was directly related to how often multiple tight ends were on the field. So
yep.
hopefully some statistics guys got together and shared some of that information with the coaching staff, and they can utilize that information to its value. And that's
We're going
all
to
I'm
find
going to
out
say,
very
because I
soon.
could talk for an hour about how
Yes, I know.
underutilized the
I
Seahawks
know.
tight ends were.
I shouldn't have even brought up Shane Waldron. My bad.
All right. So our second key to success, we have to establish the run, because you need to control the game. You need to be the one setting the tempo, controlling the momentum. Use Kenneth Walker, use Zach Charbonnet in his bruising running style. Obviously, we won't have Kenny McIntosh. He's on injured reserve. But DJ Dallas is a very capable back.
Yeah.
He can pick up blitzes, blocking as a third down back. He can receive the pass out in the flat, do the things he needs to do, and he's a capable runner. So don't think if we're down rotating our running backs that DJ Dallas is a step down at all. All three of those guys can get it done.
And the guy that's currently listed as fourth on the depth chart, sorry, I'm going to mess up his name. I'm not going to butcher it. We saw him make a couple of electric plays in the preseason. Sir Roderick, is that right? Am I saying that right? I feel like I'm messing that up.
He's on the practice squad.
Is he? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I thought he was listed as the fourth on the.
Yep, Sir Roderick Thompson Jr.
Thank you. Who's the fourth running back on our depth chart, and why am I spacing him?
McIntosh.
Oh, that's right. There wasn't a corresponding roster move. Yeah. My bad. And we just went over this. I have a great memory, as you can tell. Yeah. I'm almost suggested an alternate for the title for this one, and that was score on the first drive. Let's open up good. Let's get this crowd involved early. And I think the best way for us to score on our opening drive is to establish the run. Get both Kenneth Walker and if we need a second running back involved in that first run, show them that we don't have a one-dimensional offense. Show them that we can neutralize Aaron Donald with a good running game.
I agree. Now, our third key to success kind of goes back to what you said earlier. Mr. Man in the Box, right? Shane Waldron, show us that you made a game plan for this game and can stick to it. Because for me, I really don't want a return of the Madden kid. Right? He was notorious last season.
He's not allowed in the box, hopefully.
Being successful, and then all of a sudden, stop doing what works, even though the other team had not adjusted to it. He would just come out with a completely different game plan between series, between halves, between quarters. It was like he saw one thing he didn't like, and that meant he had to nuke an entire game plan. It was very chaotic. And even though the success of the offense for the Seahawks last season was very efficient, a lot of that was Geno Smith playing lights out. Shane Waldron's play calling lacked
consistency. It lacked consistency.
That's a great word. Yeah, lacked consistency. And that's something I want to see from him this season is, can he make the correct decision? Let's stop running screens when the team hasn't had a positive play result on a screen in 12 games. But
yeah, it looked like he was trying to be
like that.
Too many steps ahead of the opposing defensive coordinator, because I get the idea of, hey, when our tight ends are really feasting over the middle, that should ostensibly open up our receivers on the outside. But if we are getting consistent yards by throwing in the middle, make them stop you first before you decide, okay, it's working, let's go to our next option.
All right, the fourth key to success. Let's prove that we can stop the run. The Seahawks defense was ranked 30th in the league at stopping the run last season. That's atrocious. Like, we don't need to be ranked with the teams that are picking first, second, third in the draft. Yeah, I know we had a high pick, but that was Denver's. Let them do what they have to do. We don't need to play like these other teams in the league. It was bad. And a lot of it was schematic. They started the season in a 2-gap system, and then they couldn't coach it or have players that could execute the 2-gap technique very well. So then they started 1-gapping, but then they weren't accounting for that extra player up in the box and doing things like putting 2 down linemen on the field. Hey, football's a game of leverage, and if you want to stand straight up and then run at an offensive lineman, he's going to punch you in the chest, and you're not going to go anywhere. And they had 2 down linemen and were giving up 3, 4, 5 yards every single run. And for some reason, they really like that Vic Fangio can't stop the run to save your life defense. And we'll see what happens in this game.
You got to stop there. You're not allowed a Vic Fangio tangent today. Too much other stuff is another topic that Robbie can go on for ever with. I'm just gonna say
I will say this. I will say this one thing. I will say this one thing. As much as I rag on the Vic Fangio defenses and their lack of success throughout the NFL for all the teams that use them, Vic Fangio himself is a great coach. He adjusts well. He's had success everywhere he's gone. It is nothing against him.
Yeah, you want to know who's not running
the created?
You want to know who's not running the Vic Fangio defense anymore? Sorry, Vic Fangio. Go back and watch. He's not doing that alignment very much because he knows when to use it and when not to. But back to our Seahawks and stopping the run. Look, I think every once in a while you can go back and look at it. Look at a season where we didn't have success, and go, this is why. A few years ago, it was kickers. We let Jason Myers go to New York for some reason after he had a great preseason with us. And this is post moving away from Stephen Hauschka, by the way. And we lost games because our kicker would just miss. I mean, that's why we lost games that year. We lost, I think, 5 or 6 games by 2 or fewer points. And that's why, because we couldn't kick. The reason we lost games last year was because we could not stop the run. We lost to the Raiders because Josh Jacobs ran for an 86-yard touchdown at the end of the game. And we hadn't been able to stop them all game. So it's not like it was unexpected, but come on, don't lose like that. And if you go back and watch our playoff loss to San Francisco, the thing that they started doing in the second half was putting Elijah Mitchell in there to run up the gut because they knew that we weren't going to be able to stop them. And that was really the turning point of that game. I know people like to go back and look at the Mike Jackson arm roll or whatever it was in defense, say, "Oh yeah, San Francisco got mad and that's why they beat us because they were angry." No, they beat us because they decided, you know what? As great as Christian McCaffrey is, let's start pounding these guys. Let's run it up the middle with Elijah and Mitchell. And they did, and they won.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. What I have to say, though, is look at these guys that are getting drafted in the defensive front seven, right? You have a whole lot more smaller, athletic, kind of twitchy players. You have guys who would have been safeties 10 years ago being drafted as linebackers. You have a guy like Jack Campbell, whose stock was falling and falling and falling. I think he actually got drafted where he should have been drafted.
Agreed.
But everybody outside of the Lions, and shout out to that organization for picking the correct player in that spot. But everybody's like, oh, well, he'll be a mid-second round guy because he's an in-the-box linebacker. He's a linebacker built to stop the run. And when a team figures out that, oh, maybe we should sign a legitimate fullback and actually run up the gut against some of these defenses, we're going to have a reawakening of the running back era. And all these running backs whose contracts are devalued will get a resurgence in the running back position because right now defenses are getting smaller, faster, quicker, but they're not built to stop the run. Once you start running against that, teams will start having success.
You want to know, just for no reason at all, I can name 2 teams currently in the NFL who have a true fullback. Well, one's maybe not a true fullback, but he's a fullback and works. And that's San Francisco and the Raiders. They both employ a fullback.
All right. So our fifth key to success, we need to have clarity in the secondary. Right? We have a lot of players back there. We have a lot of really good players in the secondary.
Yes.
How are we going to use them? For me, I want to see who's the correct guy to be starting opposite Tariq Woolen. Right? Is that Mike Jackson? Is that Trey Brown? Is that going to be Devin Witherspoon? And then in a slot situation, a nickel situation, he's going to kick inside and somebody else will come out. How are they going to do that? Are we going to play with three safeties, have Diggs as a deep guy, kind of have Adams and Love roaming sort of deep or in the box or in the slot? Is Kobe Bryant going to be in there kind of as one of those guys, especially as Adams is getting healthy? There's a lot of questions in the secondary, and they're good questions. We're saying, we have too many.
We have so many good players.
Darn. Too many blue chips. What are we doing with this? But I need to know what's going on, especially somebody with a defensive back coaching background. Like, I want to know what they're doing. I'm going to be studying that all 22, looking at the way the defensive secondary is moving and looking at these coverages and seeing how they're using their players, because I know what I would do, but obviously I'm not getting paid to do it. So I want to see what the pros are doing and how they're going to utilize these talented players.
Yeah, look, I think it's somewhat counterintuitive us having this as one of our keys to the game, only because we're not going to get to see Jamal Adams in this game, and we might not see Devin Witherspoon, like I said before. But I think that's fine. I still think we can get some really good clarity about what kind of schemes and multiple back defenses they're going to be throwing in there. I think the key to that really is watching how they deploy Kobe Bryant this game, because he's now been kind of moved to safety. He's listed as a safety cornerback. But I think you're going to see a little bit of how they're going to move both Jordan Love and Jamal Adams around by watching how those two look when they're on the field together. I also think when we have three linebackers out there in Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, and Devin Bush, I think Devin Bush is going to be that guy that you're going to see possibly become Jamal Adams or Jordan Love in certain situations. So I think watching those two guys is going to give us a little bit, or actually a lot more clarity about what this defense is going to look like. But yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to know exactly what it is because those two players may be out.
You're right. And we'll have to see exactly how people are used and how we see that filling in. So we'll give the bonus one, which was use tight ends. There you go. Clarity in the secondary / use your tight ends. There you go.
Yeah, we know what tight ends help do? Establish the run.
Establish the run. All right. We like to look at each team position by position. So who has the edge? And this is, okay, I'm looking at quarterbacks. If I were to pick those quarterback rooms, which room am I going to take? That's what this is. So Adam, quarterback.
Yeah, I think we discussed this a little bit before we decided to record, and I gave you one answer. I'm actually going to change my answer. And my answer is the Seattle Seahawks have the edge. I had said I thought it was a little bit closer to being a split, only because, look, Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback. That guy is going to be going to the Hall of Fame. He was great coming out of college. He's been great his entire career. He is a legend. Now a legend, at least in two cities for sure, in Detroit and Los Angeles. But yeah, I thought maybe that would give even this out a little bit. But I went back and thought, you know what? We've got Geno Smith, who looked great last year. Obviously, we didn't get to see a ton of Matt Stafford last year, but Geno Smith looked amazing last year, and I think he's only going to build on that. And Drew Lock, who we didn't get to see at all last year, which I was fine with, by the way. I love that we got to see him a little bit more this year in the preseason, and he looked good in this offense. He did. He can run this offense. So I'm going to give a slight edge to the Seahawks because there's no question about the depth behind Geno Smith. So our quarterback room gets the edge.
Yeah, I went for the Seahawks as well. Earlier, Adam had this as a push, sort of equaling them out. I gave it to the Seahawks because I don't know what version of Matthew Stafford is going to show up.
Yeah.
Right. He's coming off an injury. Didn't get a lot of play time preseason because no team plays their starting quarterback in the preseason anymore. So how rusty is he going to be coming off an injury? these new players. He doesn't have Cooper Kupp as that safety blanket. So what version of Stafford are we going to see? That question mark led me to pick Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Plus the Rams backup is their third stringer, Brett Rippon. So if I were to cancel out the starters, then the backup would push it to the Seahawks anyway.
Yeah, it's also of note that, look, Matthew Stafford's always been at his best when he's had one key target. You go back and look at his days with Megatron in Detroit, and obviously now coming to LA with Cooper Kupp. So he doesn't have that option right now, and I think that's definitely going to give us the edge at the quarterback. So,
well, Van Jefferson's no slouch.
So, no. Look, if you want to, we're going to talk about the wide receivers.
Puka Nacua, like they have weapons.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're gonna talk about the wide receivers in a sec, but just quarterback wise, we're both sticking with the Seahawks.
All right, how about the running backs?
This is another one where I went with a push. Was my first reaction to this, and not because I don't think we have better running backs. I think we do. Look, I obviously love what Kenneth Walker gave us last year. I think he's looked amazing and lightning on the field. I also was really excited watching Jack Charbonnet in preseason. He showed me what he showed in college. That's why when we talked about the draft, we were both pretty high on him. He was a great pick by the Seahawks, despite my initial reaction to him being drafted by them in the second round. But they make a great 1-2 punch. Both of these guys have bell cow abilities. They can both be out there. But Cam Akers showed us last year that, forget about draft status, this guy can run the rock. I mean, he beat the Seahawks down in our 2 games against the Rams. He ran for over 100 yards both times. So he's a bell cow back, a true bell cow back in the NFL. And because we haven't, at least not to our satisfaction, established that we can stop him yet, I almost gave the edge to them. But I think with our 1-2 punch of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, I'm going to call this a push.
Yeah, I gave it to the Seahawks. That was who I gave it to, but I did it
begrudgingly.
Yeah, I was kind of with you. I thought it could have been a tie, especially with some of the health issues in the Seahawks backfield. But I gave it to the Seahawks. And listen, I was right there with you. I didn't know why they picked Zach Charbonnet in the second round, which was nothing against Zach Charbonnet.
No.
He deserved to be a second round
He was
pick.
In both of our top 5s.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player I really liked in the pre-draft process. It was about team building, and I didn't think running back was a second round need versus some of the glaring holes that we still had on our roster.
Defensive front. Yeah.
And offensive line at that time.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But that's in the past. So our comments on the Charbonnet pick was not on Zach Charbonnet. It was on the usage of the second round pick. All right. Wide receiver.
I'm going to let you start. You already talked about the Rams wide receivers. So I'm going to let you start on this one.
All right. The Rams have a great stable of receivers when everybody's healthy. I think the fact that Cooper Kupp is out and now on injured reserve, so he'll be out for the next 4 games at least, that definitely tilted it for me in the Seahawks' favor. I know, surprise, surprise, it's the Seahawks podcast, and I have the Seahawks winning so far every position. But you got to look at the 3. We know Jackson Smith-Njigba is coming off an injury. Now, they say he's good to go, right? He's not on the injury report. He's been a full participant in practice for the past week. But still, he broke a bone. And bones don't heal fully in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. I 16 days, I think. But, yeah.
Granted, I don't know exactly the extent of the injury, but they say he's good to go. He's a full participant. I'm going to go with the 1, 2, 3 of the best receiver on our team, Lockett, the number 1 threat on our team, Metcalf, and then the just built to be the perfect slot receiver of JSN. And then backed up by the big-bodied breakout, undrafted free agent, Adams man crush,
Jake Bobo.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty darn good group of receivers, and so I gave it to the receivers. I gave it to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, I did too. Look, this wasn't going to go to any other team that didn't have Cooper. Look, even if Cooper Kupp was there, I probably still would have gone with the Seahawks here. No, not probably. I would have gone with the Seahawks here because as great as Cooper Kupp is, he's not equal to our top two receivers. He's definitely not equal to the combination of Lockett and DK Metcalf. And without him, the Rams don't stand a chance. Yeah, I mean, aside from DK and Lockett, you already mentioned our first round pick, Jackson Smith-Njigba. They say he's ready to go, then he's ready to go. I don't think they'd chance putting him out there if they didn't think that he was going to have no issues with that wrist. And then, yeah, Jake Bobo. I would have loved if the Seahawks drafted him in the 7th round. I would have jumped out of my chair. I was super high on this guy going into the draft. I think UCLA had such a great team, didn't they? And we can talk about more later. But yeah, I love Jake Bobo. I was hoping a team would draft him because I wanted to see him get drafted. He didn't, and thank goodness, because he came over to the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent, and I knew right away he's making the team. I said it on the podcast. He's making the team. Whatever team whatever team he goes to, he's making the team. And he did, and it's because Jake Bobo he's a weapon, man. I mean, there's nothing else to say. He's not the biggest, strongest, fastest guy, but he gets open and he makes plays.
Yep, exactly. Tight ends. So I'll start out here. I said it last season, and I'll say it again. We have the best tight end room in the NFL. Now, that doesn't mean teams don't have individual players who are better than any one of our tight ends.
Yeah, we don't have Travis Kelce. He doesn't play here. Yeah.
Right? Travis Kelce, Kittle,
George Kittle.
Right? There's a bunch of guys out there. But our group is complementary, and they work together very well. And especially when the offensive play calling allows those guys to work together, we have the best 1-2-3 combination of tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, look, we were lightning with multiple tight end sets last year. I don't think we had a single negative play when we had 3 tight ends out there, and I think our percentage of negative plays when we had 2 tight ends out there was the lowest in the league. So yes, our tight end room is stacked. I think both you and me had discussed the possibility, and we thought possibly a likely move of trading Noah Fant this offseason just because of the way his contract is structured. I'm glad they didn't. And I think we can reap the benefits. I think they still see him as a possible future corner piece on this team, and I hope he gets the chance to show that that's the call this year because I want to see more of them. As much as I want to see Jackson Smith-Njigba, I want to see more of our tight ends this year than we did last year.
Yes, and that moves us to the offensive line. I'm going to let you go first here.
Yeah, look, I went with us, and I'll tell you and I'm this is my ignorance. I'm not the analytical guy. I don't know the starting players on every single team on this in this league, unlike Robbie. So I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't name an offensive lineman for the Rams. I can't, not off the top of my head, can't do it. The only one I could have named retired last year, or I think the year before last. And so, yeah, I went with the Seahawks. I think we had at least 3 really, really good offensive linemen last year, and our 2 rookie tackles and Damian Lewis. I really liked Evan Brown as a player last year. I was stoked when we signed him. A little less so when I found out that Oluwatimi was coming to the team as well, and it's because Robbie was super, super high on him for the draft during the draft. But yeah, I think we've got a stellar crew, and I can't wait to see them just beat up this Rams defense.
Yeah, it was close for me. I like some players that they have. I like Note Bloom there at tackle. I like Steve Avila.
I nodded like I knew who that was.
The rookie at guard. I like the potential that the Rams have, but I think the Seahawks line is more complete at this point. Adam just said it. Oluwatimi was probably like one of my number one players that I wanted the Seahawks to target.
He was your number 3 center, and there were 2 really, really, really good centers in this draft. So
yeah, I mean he was my number 3 like interior offensive
lineman.
lineman.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, not center,
just
interior
centers.
offensive lineman. Ooh.
So I think the potential's there. In fact, I think Oluwatimi will end the season starting on that offensive line somewhere. We'll just kind of see how that shakes out. So I gave it to the Seahawks. How did you see this defensive line comparison going?
I'll say this first. I went with the Rams defensive line, and the only reason I did is because I don't know what our starting defensive line looks like on the field. I've never seen it, guys. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like to have Draymond Jones and Jaron Reed and Mike Morris or whoever's going to be that other starting D end out there on the field together. I've never seen it. So I have no idea what it looks like. And I know one thing. I know the Rams. I don't know who else is on their defensive line because I know they lost a bunch of guys this offseason. I know the Rams still have Aaron Donald. So they have probably the best defensive line player in the NFL right now, certainly the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL right now. So yeah, I had to give it to them. And yeah, it wasn't hard to make that pick. So
yeah, and that other defensive end is going to be Mario Edwards.
Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
But still, we haven't seen it. I agree with you. Nope. I don't know how Jaron Reed's going to be playing in the nose. Are people going to try to match up one-on-one with him because he's slightly undersized as a nose? Or how's he going to match up against double teams? How's he going to be at stopping the run? We know he can rush the passer. He had some really good years in
10
Seattle
sacks one year.
First year. Yeah, 10 sacks from the defensive tackle position, which is amazing. So we'll have to see how that works. I truly hope that this defense isn't just selling out to rush the passer. And if we happen to stop the run, great. And then putting it on the linebackers to stop every ball carrier.
That's
a recipe for disaster.
It's the most un-Pete Carroll thing I've ever heard you say.
Yeah. But I actually gave this matchup to the Rams. I think Aaron Donald is a beast. I like some of the other players that they have along their defensive front.
You think Aaron Donald is a beast?
I do. Funny how that works.
Shocking, right?
So that right there is the first position comparison that went to the Rams on my list. Right there, defensive line.
Is it the only position that went to? Anyway, moving on.
Spoiler alert. It very well might be. All right. So how do you see these linebackers matching up?
I don't see a matchup. I'm pretty sure that Bobby Wagner is back where he belongs, playing in the middle of the Seattle Seahawks defense, wearing number 54. So if Bobby Wagner was the only guy in the middle of our linebacking crew, I would still give it to the Seahawks because he's Bobby Wagner. But he's not the only guy, is he? No, we've got Devin Bush, a former high draft pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who showed some stuff in preseason that I wasn't expecting. I don't know if he's back to his form he was at when he was a rookie, but he looked pretty good. And also Jordan Brooks, apparently Superman Jordan Brooks was able to heal, or I guess I should say Wolverine, somebody with a healing factor, is able to play. He's going. And we've also got linebackers on the outside that rush. Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Darrell Taylor. Yeah, I honestly, again, I don't think I can tell you who's playing linebacker for the Los Angeles Rams.
I put this one to the Seahawks for all the same reasons that you said. I'm probably not going to rehash what you said, but I'm right there with you. How about this defensive backfield? We've talked about them a lot. Defensive secondary. Sorry. We've talked about them a lot.
Backfield.
Yeah, they're defensive backs, right? So this defensive backs group, how do you feel that they kind of match up when you're looking at the comparison?
Well, because I know that Jalen Ramsey now plays for the Miami Dolphins. I went ahead and also took the Seahawks in this matchup because, again, I don't think I can actually name, not off the top of my head. I'm sure I could if you give me a minute, but name a guy that plays as defensive back for the Los Angeles Rams. And we've already talked about it. We have so many pieces, too many pieces in that defensive backfield. We have at least 2 starters for every single position in that defensive backfield. 2 guys that could start for any team in this league, playing each position in that defensive backfield. I know Jamal Adams won't be playing this game, and maybe we might be without Devin Witherspoon, but we've still got guys. I think Kobe Bryant's a starting safety in this league somewhere, if not here. Certainly Jordan Love was. He was a starter in New York before he came here. I think Diggs is going to be like vintage Diggs this year. I mean, I honestly, he was coming off a huge injury playing last year, and I still think he played great, especially at the end of the season. So, yeah, again, far and away, our defensive backs over there is all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Well, and that's when it counts. It counts on Sunday.
Well, sometimes Monday, sometimes Thursday.
Well, mostly Sunday. All right. I'm right there with you. DBs, Seahawks 100%. And it goes back to exactly what you said. But we have our fourth string corner could start for half of the league. Right? That's either Mike Jackson or Trey Brown. Yeah. And one of those guys, like either of those guys could start for half of the teams in this league right now. Easily.
Yes. Artie Burns might be a starter anywhere else but here in Seattle. I know that doesn't make sense, as we're the only people that wanted him, apparently. But I do think, look, the way he played in preseason, that man looks like he can still play. So
yeah, he played better than he did last year.
Yes,
I was a little down on the Artie Burns signing when they signed him before, right at the beginning of training camp. I was like,
I was both times.
Oh, they're bringing him back as a camp body. But no, he actually showed that he still has some chops to go out there and play corner in this league. So, all right, we've come to it, Adam. What is your prediction for this game?
We talked about this a lot too. It's kind of funny, and during the position by position look, I called you a homer, and as soon as you hear this score, please feel free to call me one too, because I think this is going to be a big win for the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to absolutely destroy the Rams. I say 31-13 in favor of the Seattle Seahawks.
All right. Now that's not too far off from what I have, to tell you the truth.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So feel free to throw that homer back to me.
Look, it's the beginning of the season. If we can't be unrealistic, if we can't be unrealistic at any point, it's right now.
Exactly. So I have the Rams holding into it a little bit more. My realistic prediction is
oh, you got 2. Okay.
I do. I have two. I have my realistic one, and then I have my homer, my home team prediction. And that's so LA Rams 17.
All right.
Seattle Seahawks 28. So I think we'll get up on them and be able to stretch that a little bit.
Hear that, Jason Myers? You can take the day off.
Yeah. What I think could happen is Rams 17, Seahawks 35. And that's my home run.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I say we tack another touchdown on late because it's a division rival, and why not?
Yeah, look, please let's let you know. I know that we kind of backed off last time. We blew a division opponent out of the water towards the end there, and put in a backup quarterback. But yeah, look, again, I think Drew Lock could probably still score with his team. So yeah, hey, look, we're both homers, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I'd love to see it. I really do hope that we see a lockdown defense and an absolutely lightning offense.
Yep. And here you go. Here, I'll account for that touchdown right here. I will make a prediction that
oh no. Well, it's predictions. So
the defense scores a touchdown in this game. The Seahawks defense scores a touchdown in this game.
You want to guess on a player who's going to score that that touchdown?
I know Diggs is hungry, so I could see Diggs getting one. But I think if Woolen gets his hands on it, he's gone. So I'm going to say I think Diggs is hungry, but I think realistically it could be Woolen.
Yeah, look, I love it. I don't care who scores the touchdown as long as it's preceded by a Kobe Bryant punch out. then I'm happy.
Nice. All right. I just wrote this down because we're going to revisit my prediction on our game recap show. So you'll have to tune in for that. Let us know in the comments if you think that that's a realistic thing. Give us your game event prediction or possibly your game outcome prediction. Go ahead and drop a score in there and we'll see who is right at the end of all this. Well, you've been listening to the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. Thank you for sticking with us. For those of you who are listening to us through audio only podcasts, please jump on YouTube and give our new channel a follow. Help us grow this thing. Really, we started on YouTube a couple months ago, and that was mainly to get us better at doing one takes at these podcasts and not having to stop and start and
Robbie's
cut time
recording,
out in between.
Robbie's editing software's dying. It's being overworked.
No, it was the time it was taking me. It was getting overworked. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe in the podcast world. If you want to rate our show, give us a rating. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.